The NFL draft is now just a couple of weeks away, which means it's time to review another Lions draft class as we build up to what they could possibly do in 2025. If you're new here, hello, welcome in. My name is Zach Payne, and today we are going to be regrading the 2023 Detroit Lions draft class. If this is the first video of mine that you have tuned into, make sure to go back and watch the other regradings I've done. I'm in the process of regrading all 4 of the draft classes that Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, and this new Lions regime have been in Detroit for. Real quick though, just before we get into that, if I could get you to hit like on this video, subscribe, and turn notifications on. It's a very small channel, so if you could take 5 seconds to do those 3 things, it really helped the channel grow. Now, if you've been here before, you know that before we can fully get into the draft classes, we first have to examine the context surrounding them. You see, the Lions in the 2022-23 season were a bit of a roller coaster. To start off, they were horrible. They were downright awful to start that year. They were 1-6 to start that season. And then, out of nowhere, in the midst of the inescapable "it's so over," they found within themselves the inevitable "we're so back." The Lions went on a tear the second half of the season, salvaging their record, managing to finish above 500 with 9 wins, and in their final game of the season, they were the ones to keep their main rival, their arch nemesis, if you will, the Green Bay Packers, out of the playoffs in what would be Aaron Rodgers' final game as a Packer. Can you tell I really like talking about that game? It was a great time. I liked it. So despite the Lions not making the playoffs themselves, they were as close as a team can be, so they finished the season on as high a note as you possibly can. For non-playoff teams, at least. On top of that, the Los Angeles Rams, fresh off a Super Bowl the year prior, fell off a cliff. The 18-wheeler just went flying into the Grand Canyon as the Rams tumbled their way down and finished near the bottom of the league, giving the Lions the 6th overall pick in the draft. So a year after being given the 32nd pick as part of the compensation in the Matthew Stafford trade, the Lions now had the 6th pick, and they also had the 18th pick. So a top 10 pick, 2 top 20 picks. Things were looking really good for a team that was on the cusp of the playoffs. Then we get to the draft. We get to the 6th overall pick, and nothing. The Lions traded down. So, yeah, we had to wait another 6 picks because the Cardinals wanted to jump up. But we get to pick 12 now, and
with the 12th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Jahmyr Gibbs, running back, Alabama.
What? So I don't think a pick in recent memory has ever gone from being so universally hated when it happened to, in retrospect, actually being such a good pick. The Lions take a running back, 12th overall, which had everyone losing their damn minds, myself included, because you just signed David Montgomery to a big money contract, relatively big money contract. He was a free agent after all. And you still had DeAndre Swift on the roster. So that spelled the end for Swift. Like the second Gibbs was taken, it's okay, Swift is getting sent into a cannon and out of orbit because there's no way he would have been on this team because they fill the same role. And people were just very confused. And then to start the year, it was the David Montgomery show. There was a game against the Packers. I think it was week 4 of that year. It was early. It was the Thursday night football game in Green Bay. The Lions destroyed the Packers for most of that game. They had a bit of a sketchy third quarter. But they destroyed the Packers, and Montgomery had like 32 carries. You take a running back at 12, and then you're barely using him. But granted, we get a few weeks into the season. There was that god-awful Baltimore game where the Ravens just destroyed the Lions, but that was the first time that Gibbs started to see starting running back usage, and then he kept getting it. Montgomery missed some time, so Gibbs started to get more and more work, and then by the end of the season, he started to find himself in this offense, which led into the playoffs where he already has a career highlight with the ceiling run to clinch a game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which would eventually send the Lions to the NFC Championship, to a game that we do not talk about. And then this past season, Gibbs emerged as one of the most explosive players in the entire league. He finished the year averaging 5.6 yards a carry, had 1,929 total yards, and led the NFL with 20 total touchdowns. Gibbs has quickly become one of the most electric players in the league. He's one half of the Sonic and Knuckles duo that we like to joke about here in Detroit, where him and Montgomery have been just the best running back duo in the league. Like, forget who the best running back is in the league, whatever, because Gibbs is still, what, top 3 in that? Aside from Saquon and Derrick Henry, who are you taking over Gibbs based on this past season? Anyone? But aside from that, Gibbs and Montgomery are the best duo in the league. There is not a better 1-2 punch in the league, but Gibbs is just the most electrifying part of this offense, and he has been the spark plug that the Lions just were hoping DeAndre Swift would develop into and never did, and he's better than Swift in every way, and he's one of the best running backs in the entire league. He's not quite the franchise cornerstone that Aiden Hutchinson or Penei Sewell were to kick off the previous 2 drafts, but considering the perception at the time, this pick turned out really good. I'm going to give this an A. Round 1, pick 18, Jack Campbell. Yeah, the Lions were in ultimate screw your mock draft mode in 2023 because after taking a running back at 12, a linebacker at 18, positional value be damned, the Lions were just taking the players that they wanted. Now, in a first for this series, it's obvious this channel hasn't been around long enough to have had grades at the time, but we actually have some exclusive footage of me reacting to this pick.
Jack Campbell, linebacker, Iowa.
At 18? At 18?
Okay, you know what? I feel like I'm a Packers fan from a few years ago. I like Jack Campbell. I think he's great. Not at 18, I don't.
Look at the top of his head. Ignore my hair in that clip, my lord. But honestly, I still kind of feel the same about this pick in a way. I really like Jack Campbell. He was a top 10 or 15 linebacker per PFF grades this past season. He's a legitimately great run defender. Has his warts in coverage, but he's working on that. He's improving every season, and he's been a very good starting linebacker. At 18, though, it's a bit rich. It's still a bit rich. Like, it's just too high for me. A first-round pick for a linebacker of this caliber is just too rich for me. He's still a good player, and I imagine he will be a captain of the defense for the next 7 or 8 years, but if we're grading the value of this pick, it's going to be a C for me. Round 2, pick 34, Sam Laporta. With the extra pick acquired from trading down in the first round with the Arizona Cardinals, the Lions used the 34th pick to take Sam Laporta and bolster that tight end room, which was needed because after starting 1 and 6, well, technically after starting 1 and 5 is when the trade happened, but they sent TJ Hawkinson away to Minnesota in that midseason trade. And so the rest of that season, Brock Wright was the starting tight end, who was a rookie undrafted free agent that year. So yeah, tight end was a pretty big need, and oh my lord, did Laporta ever burst onto the scene, having one of the best rookie tight end seasons ever. In his rookie season, he set the NFL tight end rookie record for the most receptions with 86, and he was, I think, 4th in yards. And then, Brock Bowers kind of destroyed those records. So it makes Laporta's season not as special in retrospect. But at the time, it was still really good, and it is really special because rookie tight ends never have that kind of impact. And Laporta didn't quite have the same impact in his sophomore season, but that's just because there's so many mouths to feed in Detroit. Jameson Williams had his big breakout season, which took a lot of targets away from Laporta that would go to Williams, and then Amon-Ra obviously had to get his. Jahmyr Gibbs was involved as well. So it's not really Laporta's fault. He was still a very solid tight end, though, and he's a very good starting tight end. He's probably still, top 7, 10 tight end at worst. So while he's not quite the phenom he was in his rookie year, he is still a legitimately good tight end, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for this guy either. I'll give this one a B+. Round 2, pick 45, Brian Branch. After doubling up on Iowa prospects in this draft, the Lions also decided to double down on Alabama prospects as well, taking Branch in the second round, trading up to do so with the Green Bay Packers, which made Tom Grassi so happy. If you know, you know. Now, Branch originally started out as a slot corner in his rookie season, and he was fantastic. He was probably a top 5 slot corner in his rookie season. His ability to play press man coverage and also use his instincts to make big plays in the run game, he would routinely lay the boom on running backs and just jump the snap really well. very elite instincts, which makes up for his lack of overall athleticism. And then his sophomore season, he switched back to playing more of a safety role. Still played some, slot in there, but with Amik Robertson, he wasn't needed in that role as much. And he was basically just a roamer as a safety, where he could basically just rely on his instincts to go make plays, which for the first half of the season, he was dynamite. He looked like a legit all-pro, and then it just kind of stopped. He was still good. He just wasn't all-pro level good. He wasn't dominant every single game. So he was just okay. Kirby Joseph took more of the spotlight as well. So Brian Branch is one half of one of the better, if not the best, young safety duo in the league. He's still a very good player. I just didn't see the same dominance as I did the first year and a half of his career as I did in the second half of the season. I'm hoping he refines that gear, because when he's on his game, he is insane. Like, he is just a true difference maker, game changer, game wrecker, if you will. So I'll give this one an A. It's just not an A+ because of the second half of his sophomore year. Round 3, pick 68, Hendon Hooker. What? Yeah, another one of those. I was ignoring all the rumors on draft day in 2023 because I thought there's no way. Why would the Lions draft Hendon Hooker? It doesn't make sense. And then they took him in the third round. And, yeah. Because look, Hendon Hooker has a lot of athletic tools. He's a pretty good quarterback, or was a really good quarterback in college, but there was a lot of questions about how the system that he was in would translate to the NFL. He needed a lot. He basically was a project QB, but he was already like 25 when he got drafted. So he didn't have the same luxury of age that most project QBs have. But what's made this pick even more confusing is 2 years into his development, granted, first year was a redshirt year because he had the torn ACL, but he's 2 years into his development, and then in the playoffs, when push came to shove, and Jared Goff missed a few snaps in that playoff game against the Commanders, a game that we do not talk about, Hooker wasn't even the backup. It was Teddy Bridgewater, fresh off of coming out of retirement. So the Lions spent a third-round pick on a guy they hope develops into a backup quarterback. Not great. Hooker has all the traits that you want in a quarterback. It just, I don't know. It's a weird pick because his age kind of prevents him from being a project QB. But so what? You spent a third-round pick on an overager backup QB, but he was a third-string QB for a few years. It's just tough to see the value in this right now. Now, granted, the flip side of this is the value next year. Let's say Jared Goff tears his ACL in week 1. This might all of a sudden become an A+ pick if Hooker comes in and dominates, because that's kind of the game that we're playing here. A backup that doesn't play, you can't give a high grade to because he's a backup in the third round where you can get starting level players, as we've seen in the past. It's just, I don't know, man. It's a very rich pick to spend on a security blanket. I'll give this one a D, I guess, but yeah, I don't know, man. I'll give it a D. Round 3, pick 96, Broderick Martin. Okay, another one that's just not going well so far. Martin was taken as a developmental nose tackle, which nose tackles don't really go in the third round to begin with, but developmental ones at that really don't. And Martin was overdrafted. Like, most draft grades had him in the 5th or 6th round. The Lions, they were very excited about this guy. For what? Because look, DJ Reader is the Lions starting nose tackle. There's no question about it. He's a very good nose tackle. Great. And then they signed Roy Lopez because they aren't happy with Broderick Martin's development. So now what? And look, Martin has athletic upside. He has potential. He just has to put it together. It's like, why are we waiting so long for these guys to put it together? We need these traits to start developing a little bit faster for a third-round pick. Like, we're already in a spot where he has to have a really good training camp to justify a roster spot in year 3. Not great. So I'm going to give this one a D as well. Round 5, pick 152, Colby Sorsdal. Another project pick. Sorsdal was originally drafted as a tackle out of William and Mary of all schools, and at the NFL he has transitioned more to guard. That's kind of where his athletic profile has him, and he's appeared in a decent amount of games. He had 3 starts his rookie season, and he's a decent run blocker, actually. Pretty good run blocker, like kind of one of those mauling type of guards. He's shocking in pass protection, though. Like, shocking. Which is why he's never really pushed to be a full-time starter. Now, with I don't know what's happening at the guard spot for the Lions. You have Christian Mahogany, who is just going to be a starter, which I'm okay with, but they didn't bring in any other backups in free agency. So Sorstal has a pathway to being a primary reserve, but he's going to have to show some development. He needs a lot of work if he wants to become anything more than that. So for now, I'll give this one a D+. Round 7, pick 219, Antoine Green. Well, 7th round dart throws are what they are. Green has been on the field a little bit. He's has playoff experience technically. He was on the field in the playoffs for the Lions. So good for him in his rookie year. But he has 1 catch for 2 yards in his career. Yeah. He's a fine project guy, but it's the same thing. We're in territory where he has to have a good camp to justify a roster spot at this point. I'll give this one a D. I don't know. It's a 7th round dart throw. Not much you can do. They either hit or they don't. So overall, this was a really weird draft. The first 2 rounds, like in retrospect, have been so good that it kind of makes you forget that the second half of the draft was actually kind of mid, and that might even be generous compared. Like, obviously, you're not going to get all pros like they had in the past, or even starting level players like Derek Barnes, for example, was a 4th round pick. But so many projects that aren't even your primary backups on this team. It's just very confusing. And I know it's only been 2 years, but it's just a very weird draft in that sense. Maybe some of these project guys turn into something, but so far it's been very mediocre on that front. But anyways, that is it. That is my regrading of the 2023 Detroit Lions draft class. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of my grades, and leave your own as well. I'd love to hear from you. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you loved it, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. We are in the midst of draft season. I'll have some more content coming out over the next few weeks leading up to the draft and recapping the draft as well. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of that. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.